Something's bubbling up again in Meghan Markle's world, and trust me, it's not the usual tabloid chatter about outfits or staged smiles. No, this one cuts way deeper, and it's sending shockwaves through royal gossip circles. And guess who lit the match? None other than Megyn Kelly. Yes, Megyn just cracked open a storyline Megyn has desperately tried to bury. And if you thought you'd heard all her secrets, think again. This one could be her ultimate nightmare. It all kicked off with a seemingly innocent video Megyn herself posted. A throwback clip of little Megyn playing pretend, acting like a queen. Cute, right? Or at least that's what she thought. Instead of making her look relatable or sweet, the clip backfired spectacularly. People didn't just smile at it, they dissected it frame by frame. And what started as nostalgia quickly turned into suspicion. The whispers began again. And this time, they centered around the one thing Megyn never wanted the world to question: her age. Yes, her actual age. For years, Megyn's claimed 1981 as her birth year, making her early 40s now. But once you start digging, really digging, something feels very wrong. Public records, school photos, alumni lists, even reunion notes, they don't quite add up. And here's the kicker. It's not just one or two little inconsistencies. It's a whole messy pattern of gaps and overlaps, and it's got people saying, wait a minute, who really is Meghan Markle? And then came the photo. The one Megyn Kelly spotlighted like a bombshell. An old Northwestern University salsa club snapshot. Just students hanging out. At first glance, nothing to see here. But oh no, the internet doesn't miss a thing. Look closer, and nearly everyone in that picture was born in the early 70s. Today, those people are in their early 50s. Now, according to Megyn's official birth year, she should have been nearly a decade younger. Yet there she is, blending in perfectly. Same vibe, same look, same age bracket. You can't unsee it once you notice. And it makes you wonder, why does she look right at home among them? But that salsa photo was just the beginning. Stack it against edited alumni listings, vague yearbook entries, and suspiciously older social circles. And suddenly the whispers turn into something louder. That's when Megyn Kelly went in hard. She said out loud what so many had only dared to whisper in private. Is Meghan Markle older than she claims? And if she is, why lie? Now, shaving off a few years in Hollywood is practically tradition. Actresses do it all the time. But Megyn's case? This isn't just about an actress trying to book more youthful roles. This is about a duchess, someone who married into one of the most scrutinized families on earth, a carefully curated royal narrative, a young and fresh bride stepping into global royalty. If even a shred of that official story was fabricated, the questions it raises are enormous. And then there's the bizarre situation with Archie's birth certificate. At first, it listed Megyn's full name, Rachel Meghan Markle. Normal, standard, nothing unusual. But then something strange happened. The certificate was edited. Suddenly, her name was gone, replaced with Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. Now, that might sound like a harmless formatting switch, but let's be real. Legal documents don't just get changed like that, especially not royal birth certificates. It screams cover-up. If something so official can be altered without explanation, what else can be? And it doesn't stop there. Megyn has always been described as someone who reinvents herself, but this feels less like a reinvention and more like a total rewrite. People are starting to believe her entire story has been polished, edited, and maybe even fabricated from the ground up. From Hollywood actress to humanitarian duchess, it's always been a picture-perfect tale. But scratch the surface, and suddenly it looks less like a fairy tale and more like a script. And now, people are tearing through every old record they can find. Alumni rosters are being cross-checked. Classmates are popping up in online forums with fuzzy recollections that don't fit her timeline. Some say they saw Megyn at campus events in the late 90s, which would clash with her claimed age. Others insist she was already working corporate jobs while supposedly still in college. Nothing is concrete on its own, but put it all together, and the backdrop of her life looks shaky, like a painting where the cracks are finally showing. And let's not forget Megyn's interviews. You'd think a woman so often accused of lies would jump at the chance to clear the record. But when pressed on details, her answers are never straightforward. Either she's vague or she sounds like she's reading lines from a perfectly rehearsed script. Remember that Oprah interview? She dodged some questions like landmines while doubling down emotionally on others. It left people more suspicious than reassured. And when someone avoids simple facts but leans hard into emotional storytelling, it sets off alarms, especially when that someone is already under a global microscope. Critics say it's all just a witch hunt, that Megyn's unfairly targeted because she doesn't fit the royal mold. But let's be real, this isn't about her race, her accent, or even her fashion. This is about whether the world was fed a fairy tale that wasn't entirely real. And when people sense they've been misled, trust vanishes fast. Once trust cracks, everything else starts to collapse. Suddenly, it's not just tabloids raising questions, it's fans, journalists, even her former supporters. That's when ugly words like PR stunt and narrative manipulation start flying. And Megyn, who built her brand on authenticity, vulnerability, and truth-telling, well, if people begin to doubt that foundation, everything else wobbles. Because Megyn hasn't just lived in the spotlight, she's used it. She's sued tabloids, clapped back in documentaries, branded herself as the silenced woman who found her voice. And when someone with that much influence is accused of manipulating the truth, The backlash isn't mild, it's brutal. People don't just question your timeline, they feel personally betrayed. Now let's dive into one of the strangest little details that people just can't stop talking about. Meghan's old resume. Yes, the resume she once used to land acting gigs. It used to float around online, but instead of being straightforward, it was filled with odd credits, bizarre overlaps, and jobs that didn't even make sense geographically. Dates didn't line up, roles overlapped, and some so-called appearances looked like they were plucked from thin air. Back when Meghan was just a B-list actress hustling for auditions, no one cared. A little exaggeration here or there. Hollywood practically runs on that. But once she became the Duchess of Sussex, suddenly every bullet point, every date, every job title turned into a clue. And what was once brushed off as sloppy record-keeping is now fueling full-blown conspiracy theories. Because here's the truth about being Meghan Markle. Nothing goes unnoticed anymore. Once you've got royal ties, people don't just watch you, they investigate you. A fuzzy timeline turns into a screaming headline. A missing document becomes the seed of a scandal. And the second you stay silent, that silence is interpreted as guilt. And Meghan's silence on the age rumors? Deafening. She hasn't denied them, hasn't confirmed them, she just pretends they don't exist. That strategy might have worked for smaller controversies in the past, but this one feels different. Because now, people aren't just asking, what is Meghan hiding? They're asking something far more dangerous. Why would she hide it? That's the question haunting Meghan now. And it's not going away. Take her schooling, for example. Meghan's official timeline puts her at Northwestern University in the late 90s and early 2000s. Sounds simple, right? Except when you dig, you find club rosters, newsletters, and archived photos that tell a different story. Suddenly, she's socializing with people years older, attending events with groups that should have been far ahead of her. Some of those same classmates had already graduated before she was even officially enrolled. That's not just a fluke. That's a red flag waving in plain sight. And don't even get me started on her acting career. Certain casting calls she claimed to have been part of, they weren't even active in the years she listed. Others were filmed in locations she had no known ties to, yet somehow her name pops up on unofficial production lists. Is that sloppy memory, a clerical error, or is it something bigger, an intentional edit of her own past? It's what I call the smoke trail effect. There's no single fire you can point to and say, aha, here's the proof. But everywhere you look, there's smoke, and when you see that much smoke, you know something's been burning quietly in the background. And then there's the strangest piece of all, her missing digital footprint. For someone supposedly born in 1981, the early 2000s should be packed with old-school internet traces. MySpace photos, grainy blog posts, maybe a few embarrassing early Facebook albums. But with Meghan, practically nothing. It's like her entire early digital life was scrubbed clean before it ever had a chance to exist. Coincidence or careful planning? Because in an age where even the most average person's high school yearbook shows up online, Meghan's spotless absence doesn't feel natural. It feels curated. Too curated. And here's where it really stings. Meghan has built her brand on transparency, on telling her truth, on bearing her soul for the world to see. But if her most basic details, her age, her timeline, her story, are foggy or fabricated, then everything else starts to collapse. Because emotion and polish can only carry you so far, eventually people want facts. And the minute the public feels emotionally manipulated, the backlash turns vicious. And that's exactly what's happening now. The age whispers are no longer whispers, they're a megaphone. And behind those whispers are bigger, scarier questions. If she lied about this, what else has she lied about? Could her relationships have been spun for PR? Did her underdog struggles look different behind the scenes? Was her royal fallout really as one-sided as she told us in that Oprah interview? Once doubt creeps in, nothing feels off limits anymore. The irony? Meghan has always painted herself as the victim of media lies. She's the woman who called out tabloids, who fought back against paparazzi invasions, who claimed the press twisted her every move. But now, the narrative's flipping. The world isn't asking, why do the media lie about Meghan? They're asking, why does Meghan lie to us? And that shift, that brutal turn of suspicion, is more dangerous to her brand than any tabloid headline could ever be. And the irony is painful. Meghan once stood on stages and said, the media lies about me. But now people are looking at her and asking, what if the biggest lies came from Meghan herself? This scandal isn't just another headline, it's a reckoning. Because when a woman builds her empire on authenticity and people start believing that authenticity is fake, that's not just a scandal, that's a collapse.